Welcome to this Skill Builder session on structuring the main body of an essay.
The way in which an essay is structured has a big impact on how effective it is as a piece of academic writing. Essays are essentially linear. That is, they're designed to be read from start to the finish. As such, the structure controls the order in which information is provided to the reader. Successfully structuring an essay, therefore, means thinking about what will make sense to the reader in terms of the argument you're trying to make. There is no set way to structure the body of an essay, but there are better and worse ways depending on the type of question and how you want to go about answering it. This tutorial looks at 5 different basic essay structures and highlights some of their advantages, limitations and applicability. It should be of interest to anyone who wants to improve the quality of their academic essay writing. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be familiar with some different essay structures, understand how structure relates to the type of question, and recognise some of the advantages and challenges of different structures. We know that an academic essay has a basic overall structure of an introduction that introduces, a conclusion that concludes, and in between the main body made up of a series of paragraphs containing all of your hard work, references, analysis and argument. The main body contains up to 90% of your words divided into a series of academic paragraphs. And, in order for an essay to work well as a piece of analytical and persuasive writing, the order in which these paragraphs are arranged, the structure, is paramount. This tutorial focuses on 5 common ways of structuring the main body of an essay: chronological, comparative, thematic, phased, and adversarial. A chronological structure is where information is provided in the order in which it originally happened. Chronological structures are good for essay questions that cover an extended time period. For example, have attitudes to crime and punishment changed since the 19th century? Chronological structures are easy to follow because they place events into a neat linear time frame that starts at the beginning and finishes at the end. They're familiar because that's the way most stories are told, and they feel natural because that's how we experience our own lives. However, on the negative side, it can be difficult to fit analysis into a chronological structure. It's easy to end up just describing a sequence of events without really asking why things happened the way they did. Similarly, it's tempting to look at the start and end and see everything in between as simple steps in an evolutionary process that leads inevitably from one to the other, rather than as complex events in a far more complicated story where things don't always get better. Comparative structures are very common in academic writing and are perfect for any type of question that requires you to assess the similarities and differences between 2 or more topics, ideas, texts, thinkers, and so on. Discuss the theme of kingship in 2 or more of Shakespeare's plays, for example. Done well, a comparative structure is thought-provoking because it requires us to identify the shared, unique and overlapping elements of 2 or more topics rather than just discussing them in their own terms. Done well, a comparative structure can be both exhaustive and evaluative because it requires us to identify the different themes or elements against which the comparisons and contrasts can be made. However, at the same time, the requirement to compare and contrast can lead to a polarised, oversimplified analysis where subtlety and nuance are lost in the effort to claim that things are either exactly the same or completely different. Thematic structures are also very common and are ideal for questions such as, what caused the Great Depression of 1929? That invite you to evaluate a range of different factors relating to a complex event or phenomenon. Thematic structures are implicitly more analytical, precisely because they require you to identify the themes against which to deconstruct the topic at hand. For example, rather than being a simple chronological narrative of the historical events leading to the Great Depression, A thematic analysis might categorise and separate the causes into the political, economic, social and technological, categories themselves derived from relevant theories or analytical models. The disadvantages of a thematic structure are that they can be repetitive if you're saying similar things for each theme, and separating themes can make it more difficult to keep a sense of the overall order and interrelatedness of different elements. Phased structures are very good for sorting a large number of topics, themes, events, challenges or actions into a simple set of categories, especially when dealing with real-world problem-type questions such as what challenges does climate change pose for wildlife conservation? Once again, a phase structure requires a good level of analysis in order to identify and categorise a potentially broad range of issues into three simple categories. In this case, short-term, medium-term and long-term challenges. It's also useful for compressing or telescoping timeframes of different length into a single narrative while preserving the sense of importance of each element. However, by its nature, a phase structure can be divisive if everything has to be placed into just one of three categories, while, on the other hand, it can be repetitive if any element appears under more than just one category. The last structure described here is the adversarial structure. As its name implies, this is where the essay sets out to decide in favour or against a proposition or claim. For example, in response to an essay question like, should the law enforce morality? Like a court case, an adversarial essay should give both sides of an argument or controversy full, fair and balanced treatment. And, like a court case, it should come to a clear, fair and defensible verdict based on the balance of the evidence presented. However, adversarial style essays can suffer from bias and imbalance if the author has already made their mind up and unfairly favours evidence that supports their view, or, alternatively, if the author is ultimately unwilling to decide the question one way or the other. We've looked at some examples of structuring the body of an essay, but ultimately how you decide to structure your essay is your choice. Does the essay question point towards a particular structure? What different structures could work? And which structure makes the most sense to you as the author? Remember, there is no set way to structure the narrative. It's your essay, your choice. You should now be familiar with some basic essay structures, understand how structure relates to the type of essay question, and recognise some of the advantages and challenges of different structures.
If there's anything you don't understand, please book an appointment or contact us at sas@kent.ac.uk. Thank you for watching this Skill Builder session on structuring the main body of an essay. For guidance on a broader range of academic skills, please follow the QR link to our website, where you can view more of our Skill Builder sessions or book a one-to-one appointment with an advisor.